Good afternoon, everybody. Hello. Had to check and see if my microphone was on. All right, we are here. We are live. We are ready to go with our latest in our series of earnings calls. This year, I'm here with my bald brother, Jared, and we're ready to go for today's conversation about three earnings stocks that we want to look at: AMD, SMCI, and UPST. So. It should be interesting, actually. These are two of the three are some of my favorites to talk about, just because they've got such weird stories going on. And let's start with what I consider the top. What do you think, Jared? Should we go in order of release here this afternoon, or does it matter? No, you're on mute. Yeah, I can't hear you.
You're right. Yeah, microphone apparently went on mute there. Let's go in order of maybe just market cap. I mean, we know what stock everybody's going to be really focused on first, and then probably stick with the semis, and then we'll jump over to UPST.
All right. Sounds like a plan then. Okay, Jared's laid out the plan for us. Let's make it happen. So let's start then with my good buddy AMD. And AMD is one of those stocks that is, I think, in a very interesting position coming into earnings here. Let's start with the numbers in this earnings session. By the way, AMD is the last to come out this afternoon, as the numbers are supposed to come out at 2:15. The other two that we're looking at are supposed to come out at 2:05. So keep that in mind. And you all know that I love AMD because, of course, I've got my little tramp stamp that I've got going on there. That is, of course, me. There's my tattoo, and just to remind you how much I love AMD. The numbers that we're looking for: about 7.4 billion in revenue this quarter and 49 cents in earnings per share. So those numbers are, look, that's what the analysts are expecting. Now, we all know that in semis, just delivering on the expectations is not good enough. The full expectation is that they are going to do better than that. Pretty much, for the stock not to drop, they have to both do better and likely have to increase their guidance for the next quarter. Now, it's unclear as to whether they're going to be able to do that, because that number is actually relatively high and has a lot of expectations. That being said, AMD themselves and their management has set pretty high expectations. They have said that they are looking to take on NVIDIA for the AI chip supremacy, and we know that's what really is delivering huge market value. NVIDIA is got their AI chipset, the H100s, which go for something like, I mean, at the high end, they're like $40,000 a chip. AMD has said, we can do better. We will deliver. They're currently delivering a chip, their MI chipset, the MI 300X, I think, is the top of the line. That's a chipset that has twice the memory at 192 gigs of memory on board, and for half the price. Now, it's interesting positioning for AMD to say, basically, we're going to deliver high-end performance at half the price. It's sort of hard to be discount at the high end, right? It's sort of like issuing a luxury car at a cheap price. Sometimes there's cachet in paying the big price because you believe you're getting the biggest value. So anyways, we'll see how AMD does with that. What's different between AMD and NVIDIA, of course, is that NVIDIA, while it's at all-time highs and moving higher, AMD is just trying to get back to the highs that they'd set about a year and a half ago, right at the beginning of 2024. So there's a little work to do, but this earnings should be very interesting for them. Do you want to do expected move right now, or just go through all three, Jared?
Yeah, let me shift into expected move, and then
Sure.
I'll cycle right back. So when we're looking at AMD through the lens of the expected move for this earnings, I find that this one is a really timid expected move, but should offer a good bit of trade magnitude for us to take advantage of. When we're looking at the expected move of AMD, it's currently priced at about plus or minus $15 per share. And we're talking about a stock that right now is trading at about 175 a share. So that type of expected move can be translated to approximately 8% higher or lower. Now, for some stocks, they can do that in maybe a day or two on a good trading session. For AMD, I think that's going to be fairly significant and does have some technical implications. First things first, if we were to move higher, as Peter mentioned, we've got plenty of old historical resistance on AMD, and pretty much we've been driving towards it ever since the previous earnings release. I had kind of like range resistance from some old swing highs back in the 165s. And if we're just talking from 2023, I would argue that one of the more significant resistant points is coming up at about 187 all the way up to 190. So this would be a nice finishing move if resistance was the major target that the previous bulls were expecting. Maybe they need to hit their profit targets and take the money out of the market. Or if we do see, as Peter mentioned, more of a significant beat, breaking resistance could often lead to maybe some future setup and the potential for an all-time high breakout. Maybe not on this earnings, that'd be a little too far, but certainly something on a weekly or monthly time frame that we could start to plan around. Um, to the downside, it would be 160 if we're talking minus 15. And that doesn't have a major technical impact, but it would kind of remove this last leg of the uptrend, which was quite fast and actually a little accelerated towards some of those resistance targets. Sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's a bad thing. It can often be like a finishing move. But if we spike 190 or if we clear, I think everybody is going to be expecting to achieve 200. And, as I look into the option market, 200 calls today are obviously transacting quite well. We have about 34,000 on the volume side, 35,000. I've even got call buyers in the 180s, and it's fairly well tiered all the way to 200. It kind of drops off maybe between 195 and 200. You compare that to the put volume, it's certainly there at 160, right at the expected move, but it's not tiered as well. So my hope is that they're actually looking maybe for the upside move and have the ladder necessary to facilitate the drive. All of which is to say that this is going to be more impactful tomorrow if we're trading it on the session, but the earnings expected move and kind of having the confirmation of the option traders is a good way to align the two markets together. So that's what I got on AMD, and fingers crossed.
Okay. All right. So that brings us to
Yes.
our second target for today, which is good old SMCI. Now, SMCI is in a very different space. They're also a semiconductor. They're used in the semiconductor sector, but you don't have to go much farther than their website landing page to understand that they position themselves very different in the market. You look right here, they are the ones that they say we will build the data center for you. Your chipsets are all cute and everything, but you want to do something with it? Come over here to Supermicro and we will put it in a system, in a rack, in a cluster, in a data center building, right? And they talk about all the different ways that they can sell you these blades and compute platforms and GPU systems and all the rest, right? Touting, of course, you can see AMD, Intel, and NVIDIA as big partners. So, Supermicro is, again, in the space, but different. Now, that being said, my the fun I have with SMCI and their story has nothing to do with their product line. They keep in mind it was a year ago this earnings release when they failed to release their earnings and were behind, right? And we weren't sure. They cited some accounting irregularities that it took them a little while longer to get their numbers out. Their auditor quit. They had to hire a new one, right? All of that happened not that long ago, and they came through it remarkably well. They actually did quite well, especially from a stock price perspective. If you look back over the time, you can see how they were flying high, dropped right back down, and I mean, look, they've recovered somewhat, but nowhere near the highs that they were at. As part of the outcome of that, I believe their CEO, a guy named Charles Liang, it's a fascinating complex, him and his family that own like most of this company between them and their different family members and his wife and brother-in-law. And anyways, it's a convoluted mess. And he has been in trouble many times, right? Many cases of concerns over bad management practices, of inappropriate or inaccurate financial reporting. He's been fined for false disclosures by legislatory agencies in the past. Like there's a whole mess of history. But when coming out of this whole issue, he had promised the market $40 billion worth of revenue in this fiscal year. And in this quarter, they're not looking to try and deliver anything like that. Analysts are only looking at about five, well, we'll call it 6 billion, 5.99 billion of revenue, which is, you just multiply it out. That's well short of 40, right? That puts us about half of that at about 24, 25, maybe. And they're expected to deliver 44 cents. So what that tells me is the analyst heard him but said, whatever, we're still sticking to our numbers and what we think you're going to do. So it's probably not that reassuring as a CEO to sort of have the market say, we are not even listening to you. We don't care what you say. So, but they've done a good job about staying out of trouble recently because, of course, you don't need any more accounting issues or, issues being raised. And I think that'll last as long as their numbers are good. I raise all this because if they have any concern over hitting these numbers, I would not be surprised in the next week or two if we start seeing more class action lawsuits. Maybe some of those, Hindenburg, who's been on them several times in the past, might come back with a vengeance and start questioning management's, sort of underlying numbers and how they're managing this company. So it'll be interesting to see. That being said, it looks like the company's going well and they're ready to deliver towards their financial targets, notwithstanding whatever the CEO said. So, all that being out there, and with the stock sitting just below $60 where it is now, Jared, where's our expected move on this bad boy?
All right. So expected move on this one is going to be considered a little bit higher. Volatility wise, we're looking at about a 12 to 13% move on SMCI. And right now the stock is 57.50, pretty much on the money. So higher or lower, that would put us at about a 7.5 expected move. And the option market is coming in right at 7.5. So the numbers are pretty easy to crunch on this one. The upper expected move is sitting at $65. The lower expected move is exactly $50. So nice round numbers, pretty easy to remember. And similar to position, I guess, on technicals, all-time high, kind of a far cry away for this stock. So we're not really looking for anything, I would say, huge, but the year-to-date high is actually a large rally that occurred 2 earnings cycles ago. And that was kind of what Peter was mentioning, a lot of delay in reporting, and then the volatility that kind of coincided with more information being released on I think it was 2 quarters back. We got some more clarity on what was occurring. So the year-to-date high is kind of within reach. I mean, 65 and 66.44 aren't too far away. If we were to break that, that would be a huge yearly kind of signal. And obviously, we would maybe start to look towards those upper ranges, 70, 75. A lot of people, unfortunately, getting trapped in SMCI during that time. And, obviously, I always mention not every stock means, not every position is profitable in the market. So if anyone is still selling in the upper tiers, this might be an opportunity to kind of reassess the position. So short term, plus or minus 7.5, bigger picture. We're kind of dead center on the chart. Bigger levels are sitting above and below us, so I'm open to it moving either way. And it's mostly going to be about the volatility expectation this time.
Okay, and as we move our way down, our third and final target for today is Upstart Holdings. So we started with AMD, which is about a 290, let's call it, billion-dollar market cap. We go down by a factor of 10 to Supermicro, whose market cap is sitting at about 35 billion, not quite 10, but and then we take another, factor hit, if you will, dividing by 5 to get to Upstart, which is only about 7.5, 7.8 billion worth of market cap. But Upstart is in a different segment here. This is a credit service company, but the focus here is not going to be, I mean, it is, right? How many loans are they issuing? What's the return on those loans? What's the default rate? There's all that stuff that goes underneath it. What everybody wants to know in this segment, and specifically with Upstart, is how is AI contributing to their bottom line, and are they leveraging AI to increase their earning potential, both in terms of top line as well as the bottom line return. So there's going to be expected to be some story about that. Again, do they have a good story or not? I don't know, but they're going to have to spin one. I was looking at the chart for Upstart and I'm like, oh, look, we're near the all-time highs as they sit here at about 82 bucks. No, right? Just go back a couple of years. It doesn't take much to say, oh, wow, we are well off those all-time highs that spiked around $400 compared to the 80 bucks. And yeah, they've got a lot of room to move, both up and down, depending what these earnings do. So fewer analysts cover this one, but it has gotten more attention with a number of analysts that hadn't covered them before resuming coverage in the last year, including Goldman Sachs, Piper Sandler, Bank of America. A few of those have re-engaged on coverage in the last several months, I would say, between about May and now on those three specifically. So, anyways, it's an a different but interesting story. Also, interestingly, I found that there's been a lot of sales, insider sales from some of their executives. I try not to read too much into this because you just don't know what it means, especially being I could not find details about what the total share ownership is of some of their key people, like their CEO, like some of the officers and directors of the company. So I'm not sure if they don't release it or the service I'm looking at just doesn't have that number. But usually when I look at it, like if someone sells 200,000 shares, but they own 66 million shares, which is exactly what happened last week with Supermicro CEO, then you're like, whatever, right? Like that's nothing, even though it netted him something, a good $200 million or whatever the number was. In case of Upstart, I don't know what it means because I just don't know how much they own. So keep that in mind. All right. So Upstart, again, financial services company. Jared, how much do we think this one's going to move?
Yeah, so this one I'll be short and sweet, just given the time. This is our most volatile name from a percentage standpoint. We're expecting about 18% higher or lower. And this stock right now is an $82.5 product. But we're expecting plus or minus $15 of movement, or about 14.5. It's kind of changing on the option trade right now. So that puts our upper expected move at 97.5, our lower expected move at about 67.5. Yearly high sitting at 96.43. So if we're moving up, definitely going to look for the hundreds at some point. If we're moving down, obviously we'll need to see if the supports hold. The only last thing I'll say about this one, just to kind of call some interest here, is there's some weird open interest nodes on this one. There's large positions in the weekly options sitting at $88 a share. And on the downside, it's sitting at 69 strike. So 88 calls at 69 puts. I'm not sure why. Maybe there's some like vertical or spread trades going on, but usually you see them closer to the expected move. That's actually not where the open interest is sitting or any sort of large trade. So kind of a weird spot. Might see some weird price action at those prices. So 88 and 69 call and put side. That's it.
Just some comments about UPS and the insider trading Peter mentioned earlier. There has been significant amount of insider trading, all of them being either sales, usually resulting from exercising of options. So and as Peter said, you don't often want to read into it because a lot of these a lot of these officers, insiders of the company, significant amount of their pay does come from option getting options, exercising them, and selling them. It's usually the more interesting thing is when some of the insiders are buying, and they're just buying. They're not exercising options. They're buying from their own accounts. That's usually a better indication that maybe the price of the stock um, could be in for a rise up. But there is the CTO. He has over 1 million shares right now. He's been selling some 100,000 shares. A lot of the legal officers, some of the former directors, the chief executive officer. He's down to 52,000 shares. So anyway, interesting. But yeah, they have been selling a lot of shares, cashing in, buying boats, cars, mansions, probably you name it.
Maybe they've got
And
settlements to make because they've recently been to Coldplay concerts. Who knows?
yeah, there you go. Yeah, so we are looking at for expectations on earnings in UPST. The expectation is 25 cents, and the revenue isn't that great. It's only 225 million, so that's what they're looking for. Just going back up the list here, SMCI looking for somewhere between 44 and 48 cents on, as Peter mentioned, roughly 6 billion in revenue. And AMD, we're looking at somewhere around 50 cents on 7.4 billion in sales. So those are some numbers to keep in mind when we get to the actual reporting.
Indeed.
Excellent.
Yeah, AMD is going to have to
And
deliver well, I think. But we'll see.
SMCI has been sort of notably selling a little bit here going into the close. Maybe some nervous Nellies not wanting to hold through earnings. I don't blame them. These things can go either way.
Yeah, the
Anybody?
location,
Any of? Yeah.
the location of
I
all
was just going to
these
ask anybody.
semiconductors is high.
Is
Good.
I was just going to ask: Is anyone taking a position into any of these earnings? AMD, SMCI, UPST. Certainly, there's you can you can buy the stock, but probably the better way to trade them would be using options to limit your risk. Actually, talked about a possible AMD trade this morning when we were talking with JT at Spot Gamma. He was thinking the a vertical spread, a put spread would be a good way to play AMD, thinking that it's probably not going to drop significantly.
Hmm. Well, we've got some saying they're long and some saying they're short. So
Okay,
Dave's
you
saying
roll the
he's got an
dice.
iron condor going. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
that's get the surround the price. That's one way to do it, and then just hope for not a big move one way or another.
yeah.
yep.
I mean,
Yep.
I think the key on an iron condor is depending where you put those limits, right?
Hmm.
It's helpful to know like your expected move and some of
Right.
the boundaries. You don't want to sell like a five wide when the stock's going to move plus or minus 15 normally.
Exactly.
But in general, there's a
Yeah.
lot of volatility crush and the premiums do go down. So even if you're kind of off sides a little bit, usually there's kind of like wider break evens than you expect. And especially if you're able to hold it a day or two extra. But all three of these are on a Tuesday, so Iron Condor traders even have like an extra couple days to manage it. And you know, we've seen big breaches recently with all the Microsoft and Meta both had expected move breaches, but if you look at them the next couple days, they actually faded back to kind of where the
Yes,
market expected them to be. So you have some option, obviously, you have some options even with selling condors.
you have some options with options. And if you look at Reddit today, it's really sunk. I actually sold some 210 calls earlier in the morning here, and they're well in the money now. It's a little more of a risky trade when you go naked options, but I took a small position. And this is actually a strategy I talk about in my options trading book, trading earnings after the fact. AMD and SMCI are heading back to low of day here as the markets sell off going into the close.
Yeah, I might have to adjust my expected moves a little depending on where they close, but just keep in mind I'm using kind of rough numbers here for not knowing exactly where the stock's going to be. So if we do get a different close, I'll make some adjustments.
Yeah, UPST is hanging in there.
It's hanging in. It's
We are very close.
just red. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. If you got them, smoke them. We're 30 seconds away from the close or less,
Oh,
and that's it. Wow.
oh.
AMD had a big spike. That
Yeah. It's funny.
weird
Nvidia
little.
spiked up and AMD spiked down. So,
Yeah.
all right, guys, we are close. So, a couple minutes until we expect to see the numbers out on Upstart and SMCI, and then AMD's coming out at 4:15. So,
Yeah.
All right.
The
Yeah,
closing
AMD
prices
always seems
aren't
to come out a little later. Sorry, go ahead, Jared.
the closing prices aren't too different than what I had calculated, so I'm not going to make any adjustments.
Okay, so AMD plus or minus $15. So it's going to be roughly 190 or 160.
Yeah. Nice round numbers to hit. I like those.
Yeah, nice round numbers. That works out quite well. SMCI is sort of moving back up here after that sell off. SMCI could be a 60, $65, could be $50, call it.
it could be. All options are on the table. Let's see what we got here.
Yeah, it's all it's all out there.
It's,
Yeah, I was going to say AMD is always seems to be a little later than the 405. They like to report a little later.
well, I've said that. I was saying that with the last ones, Brian, and I got proved wrong every time. So maybe I should say it again. Yeah, they might be a little late. Last time they all came out early. So dare them. We have some earnings that are out. Cirrus Logic is out. Not that that's one we follow. Skyworks Solutions just
Mm,
released earnings. Halo, Halozyme Therapeutics. So we have earnings coming out. Not the
We
ones
did
we're
have
looking for.
also Rivian, I think, reporting. So we didn't cover that one, but it's a $12 stock. You might want to. It'd be interesting to see how that goes out.
Which one is that, Brian?
I think Rivian's reporting as
Yes,
well.
they are. Yeah. They should also be at 405. So
Yeah, the expected move numbers are a little smaller when your stock price is 12. So it's usually a dollar
Hmm.
50
Yeah,
at most.
exactly.
So
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 I mean,
It
there,
did. Rivian did. Rivian may be out already. It did take a big drop there.
to your point, there are others. I mean, Snapchat has earnings, and what else? Toast. That's one that I know Megan was watching because she's in an active trade on that, so she's interested in that.
Yep.
TOST. Oh, sorry, I'm not showing you guys this. TOST that has earnings. It doesn't look like they've come out, but I don't know that we would see a lot of active numbers on that. We've got Snapchat also. I expect to be pretty quiet after during earnings. Doesn't typically get a ton of volume. What else we got? Lucid, if you want to keep in the car theme, because we mentioned Rivian already. So there's Rivian, as you said, Brian, took a little bit of a drop. But then we have Lucid that's also coming out with numbers. So lots of stuff.
Yeah, Rivian
Certainly we're not
seems to have
Amgen.
already.
There's another one.
Rivian came out with revenue 1.3 billion, estimated was 1.28, so it actually, but the earnings per share was 0.97 negative versus an estimated negative 0.79, so a larger
Hmm.
EPS loss on Rivian, but beat on revenue.
We're starting to see a little bit of interest coming in to Upstart.
Yeah, UPST is moving.
I'm also watching AMD. It's
See if we've got our
moving, but
numbers out
not.
yet. Still don't see any numbers on UPST. Well, it's popping though. Whoa, SMCI dropping hard. UPST going the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking for numbers here,
Yeah,
but
SMCI really, really
I'm
getting
hoping.
whacked. UPST looking much better.
Trying to see if either one hits the expected move. SMCI is pretty close. Got about 70 cents away. UBST is also on approach. It's got that year-to-date high it needs to clear, but beyond that, it kind of opens up. So UBST might be a big breakout if
Yeah,
we see buying.
SMCI did almost make it to 50 there as we had suggested for an expected move. UPST now pulling back pretty hard.
Let's see where.
See, what have we got on SMCI?
I'm sure there's a couple of sellers trying to defend the year-to-date high on UPST, but usually if you can't get price to go back down and reject, it's kind of tough. SMCI is hitting 50, so that's the expected move hit right there.
Yeah,
See
there
on
you
my
go.
screen.
It did drop slightly below there.
Yep.
Nvidia is selling off. AMD is selling off right now. I don't think their numbers are out yet. Here we're at 50 right now on SMCI.
I look to see if there's any snapbacks or support. We obviously have probably the
All right,
last
so we got net
week
sales
or
of
two.
5.8 billion. We're looking for 6 on SMCI, and so earnings came in a little lighter than expected. I'm not seeing the EPS yet, but revenue was lighter. and earnings per share 41 versus 44.45 expected. So both both a miss on the top and the bottom line for SMCI, which is probably why it's selling off.
Unquestionably, why?
Upstart also
Yeah,
reversed. Um, so
yeah,
now
yeah.
that
Upstart
one's
really
turning.
So
pulled back there. See
Now
if we
they
can
that's
also
get earnings per share
mm,
36 versus 25 estimate, and 257 million for revenue, which is a slight beat on both top and bottom. Actually, a big beat on the EPS, I should say. So right now, but UPST is really, I don't know what, maybe some guidance, some bad guidance.
might just not have the buying
Obviously,
volume to get through the year-to-date high. It's a big price to beat. I mean, everybody can kind of see the technical level there, but I'm surprised to see that type of turnaround too, because usually they at least make an attempt, and it didn't even feel like they really hit it at that point. But
I can only
yeah,
assume that
like,
management
yeah,
at SMCI reined in their CEO because I noticed that they have now formally, remember I mentioned to you guys that $40 billion worth of revenue that he just sort of threw out there at the beginning of the year that seemed a little incredible. They just revised that from 40 billion to 33 billion, which is still aggressive compared to their current numbers. But they've got a couple of big quarters ahead that they can deliver on, but that's a pretty big reduction. So 20%.
yeah, man, that's a what a swing from almost $94 down to 72, which is where we're sitting at low of the
On
reaction to
Upstart.
earnings here
Yeah.
on Upstart. Yes,
Yeah.
SMCI still is hanging around 51, $50, sort of that expected move area. And we've got roughly 5 minutes to go before AMD.
Yeah.
well, I
What's
like what
you mentioning
Upstart
A Lab? Go ahead.
I like what Upstart is doing in terms of volatility for tomorrow. That's a lot of range for us to trade. Um, the posture there is a little tricky because it kind of looked like they were pushing up, but maybe just didn't have the buying volume to get through. So we might be seeing a larger trading range coming from this candle, and usually there's a little bit of edge to play off of the lows or the highs, depending on which one's closer. So we'll see how that transpires tomorrow. But right now, it's not hitting the expected move. It's just a really big turn, and that's noteworthy.
Geez, so many earnings this afternoon.
Hmm.
Going through a bunch of these earnings for you guys, and there's a lot with numbers out, not a lot that are actually going to get any volume here after hours. So most of them are just
Do we have Snap yet?
I don't see Snap's numbers out, and I don't. Let's see, has the stock moved? The stock is dropping, so maybe their numbers are out. They're down fairly heavily here, about 15%.
Let's take a look at, see if I can pull some stuff on Snap. Earnings revenue of 1.3 billion versus 1.35 versus 1.34. So really just sort of in line with revenue, slight miss. Down 16 cents was the EPS versus minus 15 cents. So just a slightly larger loss than expected and a slightly lower revenue as well. So just a slight miss on the top and bottom line for Snap.
Oh, the stock is more than slight.
Yeah, it's also slightly down. I love it.
Well,
I've always found Snap's share price to be interesting because it almost always wants to go back to $10 a share, no matter what market we're in. And I've seen a lot of trade take place at $10 a share. Seeing
right.
it at 8 is actually a bit of a surprise for me because it loves 10
Yeah.
for whatever reason. 10's its favorite number. But
Actually, you're right. Looking at this chart, it's coiled around 10 quite a bit over the last
mm,
4 years, hasn't it?
yeah, it's a big magnet for Snap. So
Yeah. Well, 10 used to be a magic number. I'm not sure how much it applies anymore. We're under $10. A lot of the ETFs wouldn't put stocks in the ETF that had a price of less than 10. I'm not sure
yeah.
if that's still the case, to be honest, but
Hmm.
um, but
Right. So now we're just waiting on AMD.
it's a nice round number, one way or the other.
Yeah, we've got less than a minute until the scheduled release.
Yep.
30
Keep
seconds.
an eye on AMD here, see what it's going to do. Come on, AMD. To the moon or
Here we go.
into the dirt.
Let's see what let's see what this one brings. If I did like the idea of selling some puts and then buying some lower strike puts on AMD because I kind of think it's not
Oh,
gonna. I
oh,
don't think it's gonna go down.
here we
So
go.
here we
Here's the
go.
pop
We're getting
up.
a bit of a
Yeah. $4 move. Big dollar spread on it. Oh, that didn't last long.
wow.
Now it's
Oh,
down.
wee. Now it's up.
And it's up again.
This this
Wow.
may
This
be
is,
this may be like I said. This may be a great way to play. You know, selling verticals, calls and puts because it may just settle inside the
hmm.
expected move. So
Yeah,
we'll see.
AMD
Well,
is such a highly algorithmic and institutionally traded stock that seeing it move large overnight is actually kind of rare. So
right.
I would assume the same thing. Like if it hits the expected move, that's nice. But to breach it, especially, I mean, what are the numbers on AMD here? Do we have them?
So here we've got the revenue 7.65 um, versus 7.42 estimate, and the earnings per share 48 cents versus pretty much 48 cents.
Yeah.
So pretty much the beat on the top line, but the EPS pretty much right in line with the estimate. So I think what's probably going to maybe move the stock around a little bit more once we get into the call and the
Hmm.
commentary from management and sort of guidance where they see things going. This could get yeah, this could move the stock one way or another.
Yep.
But right now, the numbers aren't really moving the stock all that much. But certainly, selling the downside puts would have been a good way to play this, at least by the looks of it right now.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda, Brian.
Yep, coulda, shoulda, woulda. It's going. It seems to be trying to find its way up here. Nvidia's sympathy reaction is really not much going on with Nvidia. It's it's moved up 70 cents since that AMD move, so it really hasn't had much of an impact on at least Nvidia. Let's take a look at some of the other semi stocks. Micron, again, very muted move, so not much there.
As long as Nvidia and AMD have the same sticker price, apparently the market is happy. So even though these are completely differently sized companies, they apparently have the same share price from now until the end of time. So as long as that remains true, market tends to be pretty stable. SMCI is
Share
kissing the
price does
expected
not
move again.
necessarily is not an indication of market capital or the way the market is valuing the stock. So I
Absolutely.
think the market cap of AMD is about 283 billion.
Hmm.
Let's take a look at Nvidia.
Well, Nvidia is 4.2 some odd trillion. So
Yeah, 4.3 bill or 4. Yeah,
Trillion.
40
Yeah.
trillions.
40. I struggle. I think 4.3 trillion.
Yeah.
So market cap of Nvidia is
Yeah.
well,
Or
let's just say AMD is a fraction of Nvidia's market cap.
yeah. Or
But it is
4,350 billion if you
yeah,
prefer.
yeah, 4.3 billion or trillion, I should say.
Yeah.
Trillions.
Billion. Or, 4.3 million.
So yeah.
So many ways to say a number.
Peter, you remember the old days where like millions meant a lot.
Oh yeah. I
Wow.
know. Like
100 million?
these numbers do
My
boggle the mind.
God.
Like I remember the whole
Yeah.
discussion about do you think one day a company will be worth more than $1 trillion? And the analysts saying, "You're crazy. That'll never happen. That can't possibly be. How could a single company be worth $1 trillion?" And here we are.
Yeah.
So,
Here we are.
and that wasn't that long
And here
ago. I
we
mean, that was within my adult lifetime. So we're talking like
yeah.
90s. I remember that whole conversation. So, anyways,
Yeah. Well, even a billion seemed like a lot, but then
right.
maybe I'm dating myself.
I mean, it is a lot, but
It is a lot.
I mean, I've got a joke book here on my shelf that was joking about where is it? Hold on. Uh,
Yeah, Astera Labs seems to be doing quite well after hours.
Here it is.
Let's take a look and see if we can see what they did with their report.
This is a book about trading, and it's the trillionaire next door. And it's sort of a
Mm.
joke book about day trading. Look at the monitor. You can tell the age of this book based on the monitor the guy's
Oh yeah.
facing. So, you
Yeah,
know.
that's a
And
monster.
yeah. So, you know what? I mean, we're not too far away from that becoming maybe a reality. You could be a home-based trillionaire. Why not?
That
So
looks like
there's
that's a meme. There's a meme on there.
here's one of my favorite charts from the book. Can you read? Is this in reverse? I don't know if it's in reverse for you guys, or if maybe Carlos, you can reverse that. Can you guys read that chart?
No, it's
It
not in
says how
reverse.
day trading
No, it's not in
works.
reverse. Yeah,
Okay,
there you
there you
go.
go. Can you read that? What
Buy
does it
stock,
say?
visits visit sex sites, sell stock. Yeah, that's like
Become
those
trillionaire. That's
Those
that's
TikTok
your
videos.
guide. That's That's the guide to, successful day trading right
Yeah,
there.
that's how you do it. That's how you do it. Or there are the old TikTok videos. It's easy. You just buy the stock here, and then when it goes up here, you sell it.
Yeah, you know,
It's that easy.
yeah, exactly. Useful get rich advice.
Yeah,
Anyways, keep that book around for humor when I need it.
that is funny.
All right.
Peter,
Well, it
you could
looks
read.
like we're quieting down pretty fast. So
Yeah.
SMCI continues to sell off, but at a much slower pace. Upstart seems to have settled, and AMD is, well, it's selling off a little bit now. Obviously, its earnings were a little more current. So,
Hmm.
but like you were saying, Jared, it's much more likely to sort of be in a range. Overnight, of course, when the analyst call comes out, there could be, then as is likely to be a little more movement, but
Yeah.
it'll be very interesting for me anyways to see where this one goes tomorrow when we
Hmm.
head towards that open and what people really think then as to what AMD's current true valuation is. So,
Yeah. And
I think it's we're going to have to wait for the conference call and what kind of guidance they give, because that can certainly
mhm.
impact the future outlook of the price. So,
Yep.
ALAB, Astera Labs, we weren't watching, but yeah, it blew the cover off the ball. Record revenue, 192 million, up 20% quarter over quarter, up 150% year over year. Record operating cash flow. So Astera might be one to watch tomorrow. But yeah, it's up huge after earnings. So,
yeah,
and we see some people in our YouTube feed here we're trading it. So just thought I'd mention it.
Okay.
I think when you have a few tickers that you have to look at for earnings, like basically we have almost like a 10 or 12 stock list, watch list that we could have picked from. The ones that are going to be the most interesting are ones that didn't move much and have a lot of potential to keep maybe kind of trickling towards one of the edges. Or as you mentioned with A Lab, something that's probably so broken out that it's, got like unique opportunity. Maybe it's already starting to set up some sort of momentum and can offer like some short-term pops to the upside. So
Yep.
um,
Yeah.
I like looking at the ones that are mapped to the expected move, but the ones that are breaches are just as powerful. And we got a lot of opportunity on Microsoft, Meta, even Amazon ended up breaking its expected move. So if a name is outside of what the option market expected, usually there's a lot of volatility and there's sort of these unique trades that can take place. But um, out of the ones that we focused on, the only one that's really breaching is SMCI, and I'd be curious if it's even going much further down by the time we open tomorrow. So
Mm.
we'll kind of need to see
Yeah, I would
how
agree with
the
you.
session looks.
It's kind of SMCI has kind of got sort of that meme status that Hims. We saw how Hims traded this morning. Just out of curiosity, just see what SMCI has in terms of short float. It's 18%, so not as big as Hims, which was over 30, but 18% is not a small share, not a small short. So um,
No,
it's
especially
probably it has.
compared to,
It,
yeah, go ahead,
yeah,
Brian.
I was
Sorry.
going to say it has sort of a sort of a natural buyer or a
Yeah.
motivated buyer when you get a sell off like this. You've got a lot of buying just to cover those short positions. So
Yeah.
yeah, go
And
ahead,
that's
Peter.
fairly high for the segment that it's in, I would say, because, we have to compare it to something like an AMD that's got a short float of under 3%, and of course, Nvidia, whose short float is under 1%. So 18% sounds pretty high compared to those.
Yeah, yeah.
Also,
All right.
also wanted to call out a stock that one of our moderators is hoping for a big win, and that's Toast, which Doesn't appear to be moving significantly in one direction, but at least has some high and low volatility to take advantage of. So
Yeah.
we'll see how that one looks tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, Richard. I mean, for swing trades, I just don't really like to hold stocks through earnings. Different with position trades. If you have a long-term view, you're willing to ride out the highs and lows. But swing trades are typically, 1 week, 1 month, overnight, and it's just too much of a crapshoot. You could win big, but I just hate waking up and seeing being down big. So it's just not worth the risk for me. All right. Are we got anything else to cover? Or are we signing off for till the morning?
That is our day. So I think we're good. AMD continues to sort of leak a little bit lower here. It's now down at below 167. So we'll see where it ends up by the time the market open comes tomorrow. So that, and of course all of
Chris?
the earnings stocks, we'll give a recap of the bigger movers tomorrow. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up. We really appreciate it. Thanks to Carlos for coordinating and being in the background, making it all work. Jared and Brian, of course, for being
Exactly.
on the microphone. And our other partner in crime, who's normally here, Mike. Hopefully he's safe. Apparently his building was on fire. So, anyways,
Oh,
hopefully that's
are
okay.
you serious? Oh my God.
So, yeah.
What a
Well,
day! What a birthday!
let's hope
Yeah. And it's his
he's
birthday today,
hope
too.
he's okay.
So, yeah.
Well, yeah. So
Anyway,
too many candles on that birthday cake, maybe.
well, yes, indeed. Exactly. Exactly.
I know
All
that
right,
would be the
guys. Have a
case with
great
me.
evening.
I'd burn the house down.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging out. We'll
All right,
see
guys.
all of you hopefully here tomorrow. Don't forget, on this channel, we do our pre-market show every morning starting at 8:30. And if you're a member, you can join Jared even earlier for his market analysis with Engineering the Markets at 8 a.m. Take care. Have a good night, everyone.
Cheers, everyone.